I'm Robin Mohilner. I'm a licensed psychotherapist in the state of California living with bipolar disorder type 1. And I have the joy of working for an organization called the Life Adjustment Team, as well as building my private practice. This video is all about relationships and bipolar disorder and what can make romantic relationships so incredibly challenging. And we're going to start in a place that a lot of people aren't familiar with, and that's the power of our imagination as people living with bipolar disorder. We have an incredibly powerful imagination that has nothing to do with reality, unfortunately. So what happens is when we have uncertainty in our relationship, in any shape or form, it can be the smallest uncertainty, it causes our imaginations to go wild. And before we have any access to real information, we've already created in our heads what's taking place, what's happening. We've created this entire scenario. And then we act as if it is happening in real life, and we feel the emotions as though that scenario is happening in real life, even though the reality is we have no clue as to what's going on. So we respond to this imagination as though it's reality, and we have emotional roller coasters as a result. So, what do we do about that? We have to learn the tools to catch ourselves when we are jumping from reality to emotion, when we are experiencing fear and uncertainty, to saying, okay, I'm experiencing fear and uncertainty, versus running with the fear and uncertainty. It is a huge problem that people living with bipolar disorder have. It's also a problem people in general have, but nowhere near as severe as people living with bipolar disorder. So that's number one, is our imagination. Get us into trouble. I actually even addressed my number 2 on my list. I made a list to make sure I covered everything, and that is how we respond to what actually is happening. So we've had our imagination, we've gone on an emotional roller coaster because of what we create in our mind. And then another problem is when we find out what actually is happening, because we've already done the emotional roller coaster and we're already in this heightened emotional state, we aren't able to respond from a rational place when we find out the reality. So what we do is we end up, sorry, my dog just came in. Hello, I'm making a video, honey. What ends up happening is we respond with emotion, and emotion is fear, is doubt, is insecurity. We respond from that really painful place somewhere in our past, in our wounds, in our emotional wounds, where we didn't get our needs met. And instead of responding from the present moment and current circumstances, we're responding to our partner as we would if we were a 12-year-old or a 5-year-old or a 15-year-old, or wherever we had emotional wounds come into our lives as children. We respond to them from that place. So we need to develop tools, and this is where therapy is incredibly useful, in developing those tools so we can respond to the present moment in a rational way. And what I mean by rational is, where you're able to clearly think, these are the circumstances that are occurred, and these are reasonable responses in relation to those circumstances. So that's number 2. Number 3 on my list is oversensitivity. By nature, we experience this huge range of emotion and sensitivity. People with bipolar disorder are incredibly sensitive. And it's good because it allows us to care about people and to have intuition and to have just really strong awareness and understanding of other people. But the problem with this is we have the tendency to take everything that's said personally. And I mean everything. And that causes emotional roller coasters with friendships. It causes them in romantic relationships. It causes it at work. It causes us to feel bad about ourselves. And this started early in our lives with the emotional wounds that we acquired throughout our life, that instead of saying, oh, so-and-so's just, they're, off their rocker, we said, something's wrong with me for them to be so upset. And we blame ourselves for other people's feelings. We blame ourselves for other people's circumstances. And it's not our fault. So that's a big challenge that we have living with bipolar disorder. And the last is, we're emotional. We're excessively emotional to the point that I call it passionately emotional. We have this, my arm can't stretch because of where I am, but we have this huge range of emotion. And that range of emotion allows for us to have a difficult time being in the present moment and thinking out of what's really happening right now. And we give our emotion tremendous power and tremendous meaning, and it very easily runs our lives instead of other things such as our thinking or our intuition or our abilities to see things from a larger perspective. Emotion gets in the way of that, especially fear-based emotion. Love-based emotion doesn't get in the way, but fear-based emotion truly gets in the way. So I hope these ideas are useful for you. Again, they are: our imagination gets in the way, our response to what actually happens gets in the way because of our imagination, because of our sensitivity, which is also getting in the way. And we're passionately emotional human beings, and that emotion gets in the way of us being able to see the bigger picture. So I hope this is useful, and I will see you soon.